It's been awful. Just going to be candid. Pam Bondi has been a disaster on this. The fact that she gave all those influencers a Jeffrey Epstein binder, the fact that she said that the Epstein files were on her desk, I understand why that set forth the expectation that there were going to be substantial results as a result of those public comments. And then, 10 days ago now, they walk it back in a Sunday night post, if I remember correctly, a release, Buck. You can correct me, and team, you can correct me on the dates because everything kind of runs together. And now here we are 2 weeks later, and Trump continues to post about it. I think he's upset that he is getting criticism on this front. I think that Trump feels that he has done nothing wrong and that Epstein is old news. He killed himself 6 years ago. Democrats had this story for years that they could have done something with. In the Biden administration, they didn't. And I think he believes that this is a manufactured hoax of a story. I think he's being honest with his expectations. It's not going away. And this is where, again, I'm addressing directly the management related to it. We had the poor, I think, handling of the initial situation by Attorney General Bondi. We then had last week the report that Dan Bongino was basically at loggerheads with the Attorney General's office and potentially was going to leave. That seems to have been diffused. I thought this story was kind of put to bed. I woke up this morning in Atlanta, and the number one thing that's echoing all over the social media universe this morning was Trump deciding to go after the Epstein story again and tell anybody that basically doesn't believe him, hey, go, I'm done with you. So that is the latest.
He was just asked about this minutes ago, and so as we were coming on air, he was mid-answer, so we wanted to give you the full answer. President Trump in the Oval Office with the Bahraini prime minister, the press gaggle, goes right to Epstein. Here's what he said. We're going to play the full answer. Listen in.
I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
Clay, this is not going to make the issue go away. I don't think people who are still upset about the whiplash over the promise versus the presentation, and we could all, again, I don't want to go down the Epstein rabbit hole right now. We could do that. I mean, people are doing that. You can do hours and hours and hours on the Epstein case. But the way this is being handled at this moment by the administration has a lot of people scratching their heads and pretty frustrated. And I think that frustration is completely fair.
Well, look, here's what I would say about the idea of the Epstein hoax. I think it's an interesting idea, and I think Trump probably does believe it, that this is a continuation of the Russia collusion hoax, that this is a continuation of the Steele dossier hoax, all these things that Democrats were told, hey, we're going to get Trump on this. He sees it as connected. Here's where I would say the difference is. Unlike those, and I think you would sign off on this too, like just making the analogy, there was no real crime committed related to Russia. I know they got a couple of people for lying to intelligence, during interviews and things like that.
The whole thing was a fabrication, a fantasy. Nobody was harmed in the making of that movie, so to speak. It was just all, well, Trump was harmed but I'm saying there was no actual crime. There was no murder. There was no nothing. Nothing happened.
We know there were crimes related to Epstein. Right? So unlike Russia collusion, where it is, I think, manufactured out of whole cloth, I don't think anybody out there is saying, hey, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, they were totally innocent. This was manufactured. There's nothing associated with it. Now, I get people are fired up about this. I actually think that if you look at the logic, I don't buy that there's tons of information that they are refusing to give to the American public. I think that might be the frustration of Trump. That is why, to me, and I think I said this last week, the only way to handle this is either one, just move on. Just say, hey, we got a difference of opinions. We're not going to solve this. But we're not seeing that, right? Because the president put out the statement that he did today. He just had that statement that we played for you in the Oval Office. And so the second one is, I think you have to just put out everything that you have. Now, here's the challenge, as you well know this, Buck. Whatever they put out, there are going to be people who say they're still holding things back. This is not all of it, right? So the challenge you're in now is everyone who believes that this is a massive, huge scandal that is decades in the history, right, building, they're not suddenly going to believe if you give them a binder and push it out publicly. And again, I don't know who advised Pam Bondi. Buck, we said this when this happened. Giving those influencers the binders, the trapper keepers, whatever the heck it was.
It made it seem like a clown show. And there's nothing funny about any of the stuff that is being discussed here.
Who in the world, if you or I had been asked a question about this, I've been involved in investigations, right? I've done criminal defense work. Who in the world said, hey, we should give these guys, these influencers, a binder and call it part one, right? There's not very often Epstein Files part one. There's not very often you call something part one and part two never comes, right? So the lack of fulfilled expectations here is real. I get why people are super frustrated. I just don't get why Trump, if he truly thinks this is not a significant story, you stop talking about things that you think are insignificant. And you move on to other things. And he does have an incredible story on 6 months of the economy, on the border, on crime, as we have talked about on this show. I think he's got the best 6 months of tangible results of any president in my life. But when you put out that post this morning and then you get, as you would expect, a question like this in the Oval Office, I don't know what he expects the news cycle of the day to be other than what we started off the show talking about, which is what everybody's talking about.
And part of the problem is that there are a lot of senior government people who said that there was a lot going on with Epstein in the run-up to this election. And now some of those same individuals are saying everything is fine. Meaning there's nothing further to show or share. And I just don't think that's going to fly. I think people are going to continue to be very agitated about this. So I had said they should do a press conference where they just address with clarity. Because when you say things like the Epstein hoax, okay, Epstein is not a hoax, obviously. No one actually is holding, Trump doesn't, no one's holding the position that Epstein wasn't a serial sex criminal over decades and did horrible things. No one takes that position. The part of it that he's saying is a hoax is that there is and I'm doing some Trump translation here, but the notion that there actually is a list of people who committed crimes or proof of those people committing crimes, not going to release just a general covering of all allegations, even those that were unsubstantiated, et cetera. I think that's what the position of the administration is, I think. Yeah. And I just wish they would make that more clear because this tweet, and look, we're just reading to you what the president is saying. I'm not the president. Clay's not the president. He's saying, shut up. There's nothing to see. I don't want to answer any more questions about this. And if you still want answers on this, you're playing into the Democrats' hands. That's what he's saying. And he's using a little profanity and he's done with it. So take that as you will. I would advise not to go in that direction. No one's asking me. Well, some people, but the president's not asking me. I would say address it with clarity and openness. And if there is anything more to be shared than what has already been shared, share it. Redact what is necessary, explain those redactions. Now, I just want to be clear. President Trump is saying even that position is not helpful and is bad right now. I disagree, right? I mean, he's the president. He can say what he wants to say. But I think that to make this go away, it would be better to have that transparency. So, but I don't get to make the call. The president does. And that's where this is.
I also think the more you talk about it, the more people think there's something to it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Like, if you keep, in your own lives, step away. If somebody keeps talking about something with you and forces you to constantly marinate in it, we're going to break here, and we'll take some of your calls, and we'll take some of your reactions again. This is going to be the story that comes out. I think the Jerome Powell stuff is far more significant today.
I
right,
want to play the
far.
gentleman who said Trump might have the greatest presidency ever, because I agree. I think Trump is absolutely kicking ass. I don't want to talk about this stuff at all, but here we are. All right, look, if you consider yourself pro-life, and I know so many of you do, you're probably very distressed by what's going on. Yes, we had the Supreme Court victory that overturned Roe v. Wade, but there's abortions happening all over the country at higher rates than previous. A lot of this is because of the availability of the abortion pill, but the fact of the matter is we are losing the lives of tiny babies in this country day in and day out. This is why preborn isn't waiting for more laws, isn't waiting for the country to have a change of hearts and minds at the national level. They are in communities where abortions are happening right now, and they are saving babies by giving love and support to moms in a crisis pregnancy. Here's what they do. They say, hey, mom, you've got a crisis pregnancy, meaning a pregnancy you weren't planning. Maybe you're getting pressure from a partner or from your family to, quote, do something about it. Well, here's what preborn says you should do. Go in, meet that baby via ultrasound. Feel that love in your heart. Understand that this is a boy or girl made in God's image, and then have that baby with preborn's help. Bring that life into this world. It's an incredible organization, and they're doing fantastic work every day. $28 is the cost of an ultrasound. If you can donate that once, that's fantastic. You could also set up to do a recurring donation of $28 a month. Go to preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/buck, or if you want to donate using your phone, this is so easy to do. It's very convenient. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250. Say the word baby. Sponsored by Preborn.